If you already suspect your Porsche dealer leaves a great deal unsaid once the paperwork is signed, you have not heard the half of it. There are 15 more things they count on you never working out, and with these cars, the numbers are large enough that this knowledge is genuinely valuable. Some of it will save you hundreds, and one of them could save you the entire value of the car. Number 1 is the most important thing any Porsche buyer can learn. Let us get into it. Number 15. The cabin air filter is one of the simplest jobs on the entire car, and the dealer will happily bill it as though it were surgery. On most models, that filter sits behind the glove box or under the front luggage compartment lining, and reaching it means releasing a couple of clips and sliding the old one out of its housing. The filter itself costs very little from any decent supplier, and the job takes minutes with no special tools at all. On your invoice, however, it appears as a proper service with labor attached, priced at many times what the part actually costs, and most owners simply pay it because nobody has ever shown them how straightforward it really is. Nobody at the service counter is going to walk you through the 5-minute version, because an owner who can do it themselves is an owner who stops paying for it. Once you have seen where it lives, you will never hand that job over again, and you will start reading the rest of your invoice with the same healthy suspicion. Replace it when it looks dirty and enjoy cleaner air for a fraction of the price. It sets the tone for everything else on this list, because almost every item follows the same pattern. Something simple, something cheap, something you were perfectly capable of doing yourself, quietly repackaged as a professional service with a price tag attached and presented as though you had no alternative at all. But the next one costs owners far more than a filter ever could. Number 14. The complimentary servicing you were promised at signing covers far less than you were led to believe. It sounds generous across the desk, and it is very easy to walk away with the impression that your Porsche is looked after for the first stretch of its life at no cost to you at all. In reality, these programs typically cover only the first couple of scheduled visits, and those visits are the simplest ones there are: an oil change and an inspection, and very little else. Everything after that lands squarely on your card. More importantly, the services that genuinely determine how long one of these cars survives, the transmission fluid, the coolant, the brake fluid, and the spark plugs, all fall outside that early window and are never included. So the free servicing covers precisely the work that matters least, while the work that actually protects your engine is the work you pay full price for later. Ask specifically which services fall outside it and at what mileage they arrive, so you can budget honestly rather than being ambushed in a year's time. A program that covers 2 easy visits and nothing else is a marketing line rather than a genuine benefit, and knowing that from the very start changes how you plan the whole ownership. What comes next is a column in your handbook nobody has ever shown you. Number 13. Your owner's handbook contains 2 maintenance schedules, and the dealer quoted you the easier one. Open that section and you will find one schedule for normal driving conditions and another for severe conditions, and almost nobody points out the difference. That severe schedule is not written for racing drivers. It covers short trips, stop-and-go traffic, extreme heat or cold, and any spirited driving, which describes exactly how most Porsches actually live. Track days, of course, are their own category entirely. That schedule shortens the oil interval considerably and brings forward fluid services the normal one simply ignores. On a Porsche, this matters more than on almost any other car, because these are highly strung, precision engines that depend completely on clean oil and clean fluids. And following the easier schedule while driving the car the way it was designed to be driven is precisely how expensive problems begin. The dealer quotes the normal schedule because it sounds cheaper and easier to accept, not because it reflects how you drive. Check both columns and be honest about which one is really yours, because the engine does not care what the invoice says. It only responds to how the car is actually used. Following the correct schedule for your real conditions is one of the cheapest and most powerful things you can do for a Porsche, and it costs you nothing but a few minutes of reading. Up next, the most profitable myth in the entire business. Number 12. Taking your Porsche to a good independent specialist does not void your warranty, whatever the service counter may imply. This is quite possibly the most profitable misunderstanding in the whole dealership model, because if you believe it, you return to them for every oil change and every filter for years on end. The truth is protected in law, and in the United States, the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act makes it illegal for a manufacturer to require you to service at their dealership in order to keep your warranty valid. A qualified independent specialist can change your oil, replace your brakes, and flush your fluids, and your warranty remains entirely intact, provided the work is done properly with the correct approved parts and fluids and you keep your receipts. A claim can only be denied if the manufacturer can prove that a specific outside repair actually caused the specific failure, and that burden of proof sits with them, not with you. With Porsches, this matters enormously because a genuine specialist very often knows these cars more intimately than the dealer and charges considerably less for the same work. Keep every record and go where the expertise actually is. A tidy folder of invoices from a reputable specialist protects you completely, and it does something else too, because a fully documented history is worth real money when you eventually sell. And on a Porsche, it is very often the difference between a strong price and a difficult conversation. What comes next explains why that price difference is so large. Number 11. The parts on your invoice carry a markup that would genuinely astonish you. This is an open secret in the trade, but it lands hard on your bill, because dealer parts pricing routinely runs at a large multiple of what the very same components cost elsewhere. We are not talking about cheap imitations either, because identical genuine parts, with the same part numbers and the same specifications, are widely available from independent Porsche suppliers and reputable retailers at a fraction of the counter price. A filter that seems eye-watering at the dealership is often modest money ordered properly, and a set of brake components quoted across the counter can cost far less through a good supplier. Multiply that across every visit over years of ownership and the total becomes genuinely significant. And on a car that is going to need attention throughout its life, that single difference can quietly change the entire economics of owning it. It is also a large part of why independent specialists can charge so much less for exactly the same job, because they are not locked into the dealer supply chain and can source genuine parts at real market prices. Ask what the parts cost, and ask whether you may supply your own, because plenty of independent specialists are perfectly happy to fit parts you have sourced yourself. Just make sure you are buying the genuine item or a properly reputable equivalent, because on the components that actually matter, saving a little and losing a lot is a very poor trade indeed. Up next, a product sold to you at exactly the wrong moment. Number 10. The extended warranty pushed at you in the finance office is negotiable, and the price you were quoted was never fixed. By the time you reach that desk, you have spent hours choosing options and signing documents. You are mentally exhausted, and you simply want the keys, which is precisely the moment the warranty appears, framed as a small addition to your monthly payment. What nobody explains is that the margin on these products is enormous, and the price you are quoted is not a cost at all. It is the maximum they believe you will accept. These agreements are negotiable, sometimes very substantially, and you are under no obligation whatsoever to decide on the spot, because walking away to compare costs you nothing. Read the exclusions rather than the coverage list, because that is where the real story always lives, and pay very close attention to whether the things you are actually afraid of are genuinely included. Never let exhaustion make an expensive decision for you. Sleep on it, compare what is genuinely covered against what a good specialist would charge for the failures your model is realistically prone to, and only then decide. A policy that excludes wear items and anything traceable to how you drive is worth remarkably little on a car like this. What comes next happens the moment a warning light appears. Number 9. The diagnostic fee is a revenue stream, and how it is applied varies far more than they let on. When a warning light appears and you bring the car in, the first thing that happens is a diagnostic charge simply to connect their system and read what the vehicle is reporting. What often goes unmentioned is that this fee typically covers only the first block of diagnostic time, and if the fault needs more digging, more time is billed on top of it. Some dealers apply that fee toward the repair if the work is done with them, and others treat it as an entirely separate charge. But very few volunteer which policy they follow before you authorize anything at all. Always ask that question first, and always ask for the actual fault codes in writing before you leave. Those codes belong to you, and with them in hand, you can get a second opinion from a genuine Porsche specialist if the quoted repair feels high, and a dealer who is reluctant to write them down is telling you something worth hearing. Knowing what the car is reporting changes the entire conversation, because you walk in with information rather than anxiety. A single stored code is rarely the whole story, but it tells you whether you are dealing with something trivial or something serious. And that alone stops you authorizing expensive work on a fault nobody has properly identified yet. What comes next renews quietly in the background. Number 8. The connected services attached to your Porsche quietly renew, and nobody is going to remind you. When you took delivery, a package of connected features was almost certainly switched on for you, covering remote functions through an app, live traffic, navigation updates, and various convenience features. It feels like part of the car, because it was there from day one and nobody presented it as a separate product with a separate bill attached. What was not emphasized is that these services run on a trial period, and when that period ends, they renew and begin charging you, often quietly, on a card you set up long ago and have since forgotten about. If you genuinely use those features every week, that may be money well spent. but a great many owners are paying every year for functions they have not opened since the first month. The car drives perfectly without any of it, because none of these subscriptions affect how the vehicle actually runs, and switching them off costs you nothing mechanically. It is your money, and it should be your decision rather than a default. Check what you are actually enrolled in and cancel what you do not use, because nobody is going to volunteer that you are wasting money. Set a reminder for the day the trial ends and make that decision deliberately. Now, before we get into the top 7, a quick favor. If you found this interesting, feel free to check out my ebook in the description or scan the QR code on the right, and don't forget to subscribe. Number 7, replacing a lost Porsche key costs far more than you would ever guess, and the dealer is not always your only option. Lose a key for an older car and it is an irritation, but lose one for a modern Porsche and you are looking at a serious bill, because the fob has to be supplied and then coded to your specific vehicle. The dealer leans heavily on the impression that they are the only people who can possibly do this, and for an owner standing in a car park with one working key, that impression is usually enough. For a great many models, it is not the whole story, because qualified automotive locksmiths and specialists can often supply and program keys for a fraction of the dealer price. Knowing that before you find yourself in that position is exactly what saves you the money and the ruined afternoon. There's also one habit nobody hands you at delivery, which is to keep your spare key somewhere genuinely safe and never in the same bag as the first. Because the moment you are down to one key, the dealer becomes your only convenient option and they know it perfectly well. A spare kept somewhere sensible turns an expensive emergency into a mild inconvenience. Up next, the way your labor bill is actually calculated. Number 6. You are billed for book time, not for the time your repair actually takes. When a dealer quotes labor, that figure almost always comes from a flat-rate manual, an industry book that assigns a set number of hours to every conceivable job. If the book says a repair takes 6 hours, you pay for 6 hours, even when an experienced technician who has done it many times finishes it in rather less. The justification is that it evens out between the awkward jobs and the easy ones, and there is some truth in that, but the book times are generous and the dealer labor rate is already among the very highest you will find anywhere. On a Porsche, where access to a component can take longer than replacing it, those hours mount up terrifyingly fast. A good independent specialist usually charges a considerably lower hourly rate and quotes more honest time, and that combination of a lower rate applied to fewer hours is exactly why the same repair can produce 2 wildly different invoices. Ask how the labor was calculated and watch the conversation change. It is a fair question, and the way it is answered tells you a great deal about who you are dealing with. What comes next is a document written about your car's known faults. Number 5. There are documented factory fixes for known problems, and the dealer has no obligation whatsoever to mention them. Everybody understands what a recall is, but far fewer owners have heard of a technical service bulletin, and that gap costs people serious money. These are documents the manufacturer issues to its dealers describing a known problem on specific models along with the official approved repair for it. They are not recalls, so nobody is required to contact you, and they will never appear in your letterbox. If your car develops one of the quirks these models are known for, there may already be an approved fix sitting on file, and in some cases the manufacturer will contribute toward the cost as a gesture on a known defect, particularly if you are only just outside warranty. The catch is that you very often have to know the bulletin exists and raise it yourself. Walk in unaware and you will simply pay full retail for a problem the factory already acknowledged and solved, which is a galling way to spend money on a car that was never quite right in the first place. Do your homework on your exact model and year, and mention what you find. The Porsche owner communities are extremely good at surfacing these patterns and walking in informed changes how seriously you are taken. Up next, a fund that only helps the owners who ask. Number 4, there's a Goodwill budget for repairs, and it quietly helps the owners who know to ask for it. Beyond the formal warranty, manufacturers keep what is usually called a Goodwill or policy adjustment fund, and it exists precisely to cover repairs on cars that are technically out of warranty but have failed in a way that clearly should not have happened. Perhaps the car is only just past the cutoff, or perhaps the failure is a known weak point the factory is entirely aware of. The catch is that nobody ever offers it, because the service advisor will simply quote the full retail repair and wait to see whether you pay it. Owners who stay calm and polite, point clearly to the known issue, ask directly for Goodwill assistance, and escalate to the service manager or the manufacturer's customer line when necessary, receive meaningful help far more often than most people would believe. A complete, documented service history strengthens your case enormously, even when some of that work was done independently. Use the actual words Goodwill or policy assistance, because those are the terms the people on the other end recognize. The dealership counts on you not knowing, and a calm, specific request beats an angry one every single time. What comes next reframes everything in your handbook. Number 3. The factory maintenance schedule is the minimum, not the recommendation, and that distinction is worth a fortune on a car like this. This is the idea that ties almost everything else together, because most owners treat the schedule in the handbook as a description of optimal care when it is nothing of the sort. It is the bare minimum required to keep the car healthy through its warranty period while keeping the published running costs as low as possible, and manufacturers compete openly on cost of ownership figures, which look far better when the scheduled servicing is sparse. Every experienced specialist will tell you the factory schedule is where they start, not where they stop. The oil intervals in particular are far longer than anybody who genuinely cares about these engines would ever choose, and the fluid services that get delayed are exactly the ones that decide whether an engine lasts. Servicing a Porsche a little more often than the book demands is one of the cheapest forms of insurance available to you, and it is the single habit that separates the engines still running strong at enormous mileage from the ones that gave up early. The schedule tells you the minimum the car can survive on, and a Porsche deserves rather more than the minimum. And that leads to the two things that matter most of all. Number 2, the specification of the car decides its value far more than the mileage does, and no salesperson is going to explain that while they are selling you a plain one. This is one of the great secrets of the Porsche world, and it catches out an enormous number of first-time buyers who apply ordinary car logic to a car that does not follow ordinary rules. With most vehicles, a low-mileage example in a popular color is simply worth more, but with a Porsche the options list, the color and the originality can matter every bit as much as the numbers on the odometer. A manual gearbox where a manual is desirable, a sought-after color rather than another silver or black car, the right sports options and the boxes that enthusiasts genuinely want, all of these can make an enormous difference to what the car is worth later, and to how easily it sells at all. Originality matters too, because heavily modified cars very often struggle, and the standard parts that somebody threw away have a habit of becoming valuable. So think like the person who will buy it from you, not just like the person buying it today. Choosing the right specification costs you nothing extra at the moment of purchase, and it can be worth a great deal when you come to sell. And that brings us to the most important thing of all. Number 1. The most important thing your dealer will never tell you is that the specific engine and model you are buying decides absolutely everything. And nobody selling you a car has any incentive to raise it. This is the single piece of knowledge that separates the owners who adore these cars from the owners who are financially wounded by them, and it matters most when you are buying used, which is precisely when nobody is looking out for you. Porsche engines are not equal, and the differences are not academic. On the water-cooled flat-six cars of a certain era, there is the well-documented intermediate shaft bearing to be aware of, a known item that can very often be addressed permanently, and there are the questions around bore wear on certain engines that a specialist will know how to check for. On the larger SUVs, there are coolant pipes and drive shaft supports with known reputations. Crucially, some versions sidestep these concerns entirely, and knowing which is the difference between a bargain and a disaster. None of this is secret, and any genuine specialist can talk you through it in minutes, but the person selling the car has every reason to stay quiet. So you research the exact engine, the exact year, and the exact known weaknesses before you even look at a car, and then you pay a proper Porsche specialist for a thorough pre-purchase inspection, and you treat that inspection as completely non-negotiable. Get that right, and these are magnificent cars you can genuinely love and keep for decades. Get it wrong, and no amount of careful ownership will save you afterwards. The engine you choose takes number 1, and it earned every single inch of that spot.